All right, well, we have a lot to cover today, so why don't we go ahead and get started. My name is Sarah. I am the VP of Marketing here at BrainSell, and I will be playing the role of host today for our event. So thank you all for joining us for today's webinar, our CRM Contender series, HubSpot Sales Hub versus Salesforce Sales Cloud, which is right for your business. Before we get started, I just have a couple of housekeeping items that I would like to cover. This will be a 60-minute presentation. We will have a formal Q&A towards the end of the presentation. However, as we're going through and speaking to different functionality and different topics, if you have questions, please go ahead and drop them into the question box. I'll be monitoring that throughout the hour, and I will interject and ask questions as they come in. And then this session is being recorded, and we will send both a copy of the slides as well as the recording. You'll likely see it in your inbox tomorrow morning. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to today's presenters to introduce themselves.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Chris Farnham. I'm an account executive with BrainSell. I've spent time as a seller at both Sugar CRM and Salesforce. And while as a seller at Sugar, I actually worked with BrainSell to help deliver solutions to my customers. And what I really appreciated about BrainSell is they focused on outcomes. What outcome an organization is looking for by purchasing and subscribing to a technology. That's the goal here, guys, is to get you some information that may be valuable in your pursuit of your goals. With that, I'll let Garrett take over and introduce himself.
Glad to be on the call, Chris. Garrett Hogan, Account Executive, Vice President of Customer Experience here at BrainSell. And just to add to what Chris is saying, we're looking to do a couple of different things on today's webinar, which I think is hopefully very exciting for you. One, what's the proper way to look at CRM selection? And two, what do these CRMs present that are key differentiators in the marketplace? So excited to be on the call today.
Awesome. Thank you, Garrett and Chris, and glad to have you both with us. So just at a high level, what we're planning to cover today, we're going to start by setting the stage, so talking about the state of the CRM market. Then we will dive into the key areas that you should really consider when evaluating solutions, right? It's not necessarily about the biggest brand, but the needs that you as a unique company have. Then we will take a deep dive into two CRM solutions today, HubSpot versus Salesforce. And again, we'll have the audience Q&A at the end, but if you have questions throughout, feel free to drop them into the question box. But before we jump in, I just have a couple of poll questions. So I'm going to go ahead and launch the first one, and it's, are you currently using a CRM? And the responses are yes, Salesforce, yes, HubSpot, yes, other, yes, but I'm unsure of which one we're using, or no, we're not currently using a CRM.
Hopefully we don't get a lot of responses on bullet 4. That's
So we have about, just giving people a few more seconds, I should say. And then, so it looks like we have 20% on HubSpot, 40% are using a CRM and another CRM, and 40% are not currently using CRM.
Interesting. Not on Salesforce either. I'll have to change people's minds today.
And so for those of you that are using a CRM, how would you describe your relationship? Happily married and in it for the long haul? You've had some rocky moments, but are committed to making it work? Let's just say you're exploring other options or relationship. What relationship? Just give people a couple of seconds to weigh in here. Okay, and let's see where we're at. So we have 67% are saying they're happily married and in it for the long run, and 33% saying, let's just say we're exploring other options. Okay, that's good to know.
Interesting result.
So let's go ahead, Garrett, and get into the good stuff.
Thank you, Sarah. We wanted to start by just kind of touching on a high level what the sugar CRM market looks like. It's the biggest and fastest growing software market worldwide. I know in being in the CRM market for 24 years, I can't live without a CRM to just drive my day and to drive business and to look at that, the forward thinking, right? What's happening in our forecasts, what's coming down the pipe and where we should be turning the ship. Because we all know that ERP data is, it's been past, it's old, it's great for historical, but not forward thinking. So biggest and fastest growing software market worldwide. If you look at the G2 grid to the right-hand side, you'll see it's also a very, very busy market. There's a lot of CRM players out there. If you're not living in the CRM market like Chris and I are, you probably are not aware that a lot of the different CRMs in the marketplace have their own swim lanes, right? To me, I always categorize the CRM market first and foremost as light CRMs in the market, those medium complexity CRMs, which are a good fit, and then the enterprise class CRMs out there in the marketplace. I would definitely say for our conversation today that HubSpot and Salesforce definitely fit into that enterprise class market in the CRM. We're going to get deeper into why CRM companies choose their own swim lanes, but it's not a bad thing. It's not to bash other CRMs on this chart because they happen to be considered light. It's just the market that they're focused on pursuing, the customer base they're focused on growing their business with. But lots of key players, and it can add a lot of confusion when you're trying to decide the right CRM for your company. We're going to kind of break that down and give you some insights on how you might want to look at it and approach it when you're looking at a CRM migration or a CRM selection. So,
Garrett, real quick on your swim lane comment, I think that's a great way to describe it because every organization exists in a vertical, and that vertical has usually some basic functionality that just makes sense to that vertical. And the CRMs that are all in on just say a vertical work well for most use cases for those organizations. The benefits to something like a HubSpot or a Salesforce is it can be a jack of all trades, yes. And it's not going to limit those organizations to just the capability within those kind of limited swim lane CRMs. And that's the case, and that's the feedback that we hear from organizations. Say if you're in, yep. Who knows, medical supplies, and there's a medical specific CRM out there, but they buy it and then they want additional capabilities. Well, I want it to talk to my non-medical ERP or accounting tool, or I want it to connect with this other application. And those very specific CRMs don't want that. They don't allow that connection to take place, but HubSpot and Salesforce both do. And so that's something to consider is, will there be other applications down the line that as a business that you're going to want to connect to? If so, then you're at the right webinar today.
Exactly. The highly verticalized CRMs in the market, specifically targeted for manufacturing or healthcare or pharmaceuticals, they're perfect until they're not. And so I always talk to our customers about, okay, what's that 3-5 year vision as you continue to grow? You need to consider those things. The other thing that I'm finding too, Chris, I don't know about you, but in the verticalized CRM market, I'm watching the companies very closely. Because I'm not seeing a lot of growth in those highly verticalized markets, and that leads to not a lot of money for R&D to support their customers and so on and so forth. So if you're looking at a very specific verticalized CRM in the marketplace, you might want to look, hey, what's it going to take to build in something that has a little bit more money backing it, that's a little bit more accessible to configuration and customizations, so that you find yourself not caught in a corner 3-5 years down the road as you acquire different businesses and they have different use cases and all these different factors that we should be thinking about now rather than later. So yeah, very good.
100%.
Yep. So tell us about the value of CRM, Chris.
Well, yeah, so the first and biggest impact that a CRM is going to deliver is the return on investment. You spend one and you get two from it. And the way that businesses do that varies based on your use case. But for the most part, businesses need that information about who their customers are, the how deals with those customers are progressing, whether it's a service sale or whether it's a product sale. And in order to see those benefits, you have to track that information in a manageable platform. And CRM is exactly the place for that. Spreadsheets do work, right? But as you start to scale, as you increase your customer count, as you increase your deal count or your deal complexity, the Excel spreadsheet model just doesn't scale. Additionally, we have customers that use CRM and leverage it to identify customers that may be leaving them, right? Everyone knows it's far more expensive to gain a new customer than to sell to an existing one. And so CRM can help identify customers that are at a place where they could be prepared to leave you guys or are in the process of turning away from your business. Now, productivity is a huge capability of CRM, which everyone sees and values, and it's those efficiencies that the CRM can help drive that justify that cost, those hard and soft costs. Additionally, you can make your sellers smarter, right? You can gain information from successful sellers about the way they run their business and apply that to the rest of the team. And again, when I say sellers, these could be account managers, they could be, kind of a support-based roles, but sellers a broad term here. Additionally, there's insights that the CRM will generate around, are your customers happy? What aspects of your business and your business process make it easy to do business with and make that customer want to continue to return to you? And then just that accessibility to data. While the average seller on the street may not have a passion for data, I guarantee you the leaders of your organization do. They need that information to decide, like Garrett had said earlier, where do you direct the company? Where do you direct resources, right? Because if a company is seeing a certain trend, how do you identify that trend within the business other than compile that information from the CRM?
And I love this slide, Chris, because I don't know about you, but for every customer that I speak to, we use each one of these as bullet points in the spreadsheet, and we have to answer these questions when we're choosing the next CRM, right? It's every company's ROI is different. You just can't Google ROI spreadsheet and come up with something that's going to apply to your organization. So you need to understand that return. And again, a lot of those bullet points, they really talk to the fast and efficiency aspect of it, which leads to your user adoption, right? And I think we brought it up in this slide as well. By the way, I think that last slide was mine and I jumped the gun on handing it over to you, but that's okay. Sarah will talk to me about that later. Do you want to take this next slide, Chris?
Yeah, I'll call out one or two aspects that I find are just critical that my customers touch on before they start to commit to either a different CRM or evaluate their current CRM or look at moving off their current model. And that's the biggest one I feel is objectives, or at least a sense of objectives. Your time is the most valuable IP that your organization has.
Yeah.
Sure, the product may be great, the services may be great, but your time is the most expensive piece in that equation. And so without an objective, without a goal of, if I take on this project, I need to have some sort of achievable. That could be 3xing your pipeline. It could be decreasing the amount of deals that you guys lose, right? You want to increase your win rate. Some sort of objective has to be in place in order for not only the right technology to be chosen, but the way that technology is configured and set up and the processes that go along to support that technology being put in place absolutely has to be there. Garrett, what's one of your favorites from this list?
I was going to say, how many projects have you seen in the past that we've been introduced to, a CRM currently in place, overly customized? And if you break down that over customization, that complex customization, and you start breaking it down by where's the ROI for users to have to input all this information, it's just simply not there. And so to me, one of the biggest points on this is just, fast and efficient for your users, because user adoption is half the battle when you're looking at approaching deploying a CRM in your environment. You need to have that user adoption so you get the data, so you can report on that data. And so when you're looking at CRM selection, what's going to be a fast and easy tool that the users are going to want to use so that we get the data that we're looking to collect is a huge decision point in that entire process. And it breaks down into several bullet points there. The workflow management, for example. I mean, if we're still sending emails back and forth and placing phone calls and Teams messages and Slack about this and that throughout the day, you can resolve those problems in a good CRM tool. And again, that's just going to add more time for the users to be working on the work that they need to be doing. The final piece in that slide, though, I will say, Chris, and it's probably the most exciting piece, is what we're going to see over the next 12, 24, 36 months in terms of automation and AI capabilities. Right?
Agreed.
And that's the concept, and we'll get into it a little bit deeper later, but the concept of feeding the user information that they need to know without them having to discover it for themselves. So when you're looking at a CRM tool for a sales team or a customer service team or something like that, think about that approach, that as a salesperson, for example, every call can be a productive call if we're feeding them the information about their customer that they need to discuss when they're talking to that customer. Simple as that. And we're going to see huge leaps in the AI space in terms of CRM as we get into the next couple of years. So now I'm confused. Is this mine, Sarah? Okay. So let's jump into I knew I was off kilter. Let's jump into the CRM contenders for today's call. Any questions so far, Sarah? Or remember, we want to keep it interactive. So you have a question, feel free to drop.
I do have a question.
Yes.
Somebody's interested in, they're using Sage Accounting, and they're asking if either of these tools integrates with Sage Accounting.
Sure, and I can handle that one, Chris, if you like. Candidly, they both do. When I started in the CRM market 24 years ago, there were very specific integration tools in the market that really limited you on your CRM selection. I'm using this ERP or accounting solution, I have to move to this CRM because of the integration. And those days are really behind us now. I'd say HubSpot and Salesforce both have multiple options you can choose from, so that you can hone in on the processes and what you're trying to achieve with that integration, and then choose the best integration tool for your use case. So yeah, it's a wash in terms of that, but what's important is to say, what are we trying to achieve by moving accounting data, the sales history, order history, purchase orders, all that? What are we looking to achieve by having it in front of the user of the CRM? Is it duplicate entry? Is it upsell, cross-sell? Is it reduced churn? Have those conversations and then pick your tool, because there's plenty out there to choose from.
That's a whole separate webinar.
It's a great one too, because the future is now. I remember trying to hit things with a hammer to integrate tools together, and now we can kind of relax a little bit. So tell us about the HubSpot platform, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Just so everyone is clear what we're talking about today. A HubSpot is a platform. It's got lots of different pieces to it. It all looks and feels the same. And part of that's because it was organically designed. Traditionally, HubSpot has been a marketing tool. Marketers used it to help run their website, capture leads, and then send those leads over to whatever CRM that the sales team used. Over the years, though, and I would say over the last 18 to 24 months, they have made dramatic increases in the capabilities of what's called their Sales Hub. That is the HubSpot CRM, and that's what we're going to talk about today. There's plenty of other functionality, like I mentioned, all the different hubs, so ticketing, customer content management, as well as for operations, right? We won't touch on those today. We're just focusing on the HubSpot Sales Hub platform, which again was organically built into the platform. So, as a user, you don't see any, functional or clicking difference between the different capabilities.
Things that we would call bolt-ons in the past, where you're literally envisioning bolting two systems together to make them sing and dance and talk to each other. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Salesforce. It's basically been around since 2002. I mean, it's been a major player in what we call the cloud revolution, where CRM technology was now just available online. And with like flipping on a light switch, we could order Salesforce, turn it on, and start using it as a CRM. So it's a mature platform. It's really an ecosystem. Today we'll talk mostly about Sales Cloud. Some other components may come up, but over the years, yes, it's grown kind of the reverse of HubSpot. It started as a CRM. It's introduced Marketing Cloud. It's acquired Pardot. It's introduced Service Cloud, and its Data Cloud, Data Lake architecture capabilities have really made it a sound fit for very big global enterprise customers. So it's a very big player in the marketplace. Also for your e-commerce needs, you might benefit from their Commerce Cloud. Just like the HubSpot platform, the Salesforce platform is all bought in different subscription buckets, right? So if you're here to really learn more about the CRM, you're going to want to focus on your HubSpot research on Sales Hub, and you're going to want to look at Sales Cloud for Salesforce. But as you start talking about the other functional areas of your business, if you see gaps in your technology stack, it might be something to consider. Hey, you know what? We're really light on marketing capabilities. Let's just take a look at Market Hub. Let's take a look at Marketing Cloud from Salesforce. Let's take a look at Pardot, and let's just see what our overall architectural stack should really look like. These tools are, I think, really built out to grow inside of their ecosystems.
Cool. So I'll jump in. High-level overview of the HubSpot Sales Hub. It is a cloud-based solution. Anyone with internet access can get on. Minimum number of users is 2 users. Table stakes, it has the ability, comes with natively the ability to integrate with the 2 most common email technologies. We can touch more on that in a minute. It will give most businesses the in-depth reporting that they require in order to base the, not only at the sales, kind of the end user level, but also give executive management guidance on, hey, where do we want to focus our resources of the organization? One differentiator that I see is when you're looking at the UX and systems management aspect or approach of HubSpot, is the analogy I like to use is, Salesforce is an amazing race car, right? It is deluxe, amazing, can perform at really high levels, but a lot of businesses get surprised because they have to hire a semi-professional or professional driver to drive that car around. HubSpot is also a great, powerful vehicle, but you can drive it. So you don't have to have the same dedicated resources to manage and run the application on a daily basis. Additionally, HubSpot will allow you to scale the organization. While most organizations that have HubSpot are under, I would say, 2,000 employees, I do have a number of customers that are above that number that can and easily run their business on HubSpot. So with that, Garrett, please take it over and tell us a little bit about Salesforce.
Yeah, I think you got some valid points here. Look, I mean, I think 5% of the market is still on-premise, using CRM tools in, on a server in their offices, and that percentage continues to decrease over the years. If you're looking for on-premise, yeah, you've got to look elsewhere. HubSpot and Salesforce ain't going to do it. Maybe look at a Sugar CRM or one of those tools that still has those on-premise technologies. If you have a very complex environment and you want more control over your environment, well, yeah, there's a conversation around what's called private cloud. And that's where Salesforce definitely tips the needle. You'll want to look at Salesforce because HubSpot simply just doesn't have private cloud. But if you're in that, 5 to 10 users, you're just getting started on CRM and things like that, you do want to be careful about what you're trying to do as far as configuration is concerned, because the HubSpot interface is still, it's got a different UI approach, and it makes it a little easier to get onboarded, I'd say, a little bit more. But where it's good in that environment for your more complex CRM needs, you might want to look to Salesforce, which can handle it. Again, Salesforce is the major player in this conversation. Global companies use it every day, 5,000 users, not a problem. If you're not in those buckets of what we would call highly complexable environments, then it's not going to be as important to you when you're making this CRM decision. We do find that most customers in the Salesforce space tend to rely on very heavy power users or Salesforce admins to manage the system because of those complexities and things like that. But I think as far as a reporting and analytics standpoint, yeah, HubSpot does it very well. The system is pretty open in its architecture. We can pull most data from any area of the system and put it together in reports. Salesforce did acquire Tableau a while back, and that's a great BI tool. If you're using Power BI, connect it to HubSpot, connect it to Salesforce. Again, consider that those types of scenarios more of a wash and focus on some other things, which would be those key differentiators for your business, for sure. And then of course the ecosystem, right? So many CRMs in the marketplace just simply don't have an app exchange like Salesforce does, or the app marketplace like HubSpot does. And if it's there, sometimes it's really lacking. So yeah, we were talking about integration to accounting systems before, and again, I think any accounting system that you have within reason is probably going to have some solution available to it to integrate to a HubSpot CRM or a Salesforce CRM in the marketplace. It's going to be there. That doesn't mean you have to choose them though. And I always say, it's amazing. It's great to have plugins. It's good to have all these integration tools out there, but what does the integration tool do? And does it fit what you're trying to achieve by integrating two systems together? So it's really important. But what does it say here? 1,100 apps in the HubSpot marketplace, 7,000 in the Salesforce. I don't think HubSpot will ever catch up to Salesforce in the marketplace. Salesforce has just been around too long, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's a plus for your business, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that at all. I always dig into the apps before you put that as part of your consideration. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I'll give it to Salesforce. They certainly have the tail of applications, right? The ability to connect with just about any application out there. What I will say though, and that what my customers find is when they really get down to it, those integrations cost typically some money. They take a little energy to get them set up and configured properly. And most medium-sized organizations, the applications they need to connect with their CRM can be found in the HubSpot app store, right? So there's typically not a situation where an organization needs an application in order to make their business more efficient, but can't find it within the HubSpot ecosystem. Certainly that's the case with Salesforce as well, but you've got more of those esoteric kind of corner use case applications in the Salesforce side that they're just there, which is great. But like Garrett said, watch out, regardless of the vendor, make sure there's people reviewing it and have actually used that connector. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's proven and has no issues.
It's going to fit your use case. It's going to have the proper support that you demand. And if you're looking at multiple integrations to your CRM, because I always look at CRM as kind of like the central hub with spokes connected to multiple different systems, kind of bringing it all together. Of course, now we're using more and more with online data lakes and things like that for that purpose. But my point is that if you're looking for multiple integrations, look to an ETL tool, look to a Microsoft Fabric, for example. Very bullish on it, love it, because connecting multiple systems together using one integration is much better than using multiple integrations and having to manage them, especially during quarterly updates by vendors and so on and so forth.
And thank goodness both of these vendors here have simplified and streamlined the connection to your most commonly used business application, email, whether that's Microsoft, whether that's Google. Both HubSpot and Salesforce will have easy to use connections. Both have out-of-the-box connections that don't cost you money. There are other options to kind of get additional functionality there, right, at cost in some situations. But with HubSpot, you're going to be able to record every email in or out of your inbox. And what I like and what my customers like, whether they're moving off of, say, Excel or moving off of kind of say an entry-level CRM is the integration between HubSpot and their email allows some CRM users of a certain age demographic to ease their way into using the CRM. Garrett was talking about adoption earlier, and you have to have some sort of incentive or a crawl, walk, run approach to get users adopting the CRM. This starts to populate email information into the CRM automatically with every send and receive, whether the user even recognizes that it's taking place, so that when they go to turn to the CRM, there's data in there. There's information in there about that account or that contact that lets them make smart decisions. HubSpot has a very robust connector to both email solutions, and they also have some AI functionality that we'll talk about in a few minutes that allow your sales reps to be more productive by using either templates or AI to populate what to talk about, things to say, whether it's a cold conversation or existing conversation with a customer.
Yeah, and I think the email plugin at HubSpot is they've designed it correctly, but so is Salesforce, right? If we have a user base that's focused on living in their Outlook or Gmail account every day, and that's all they've been doing, and now we're introducing CRM, we have to make sure that that email plugin to the CRM gives them everything that they need from the CRM, so they're not flipping between the applications, or else they get frustrated. And to Chris's point, the user adoption suffers. Salesforce does it really well. Get to the account information, get to the contact information. We'll talk about AI in a little bit, but every opportunity, every note, every call, every activity, they should all be accessible to the user within Outlook because of the user adoption problem that you're trying to overcome, and making sure that your CRM is stood up successfully and people are using it. So, I'm shocked with that crowded CRM marketplace, how many tools do not have robust email integration and allow their users to work with the CRM inside of Gmail or Outlook. I consider it of highest importance during the CRM selection. I think HubSpot does it well. I think Salesforce does it fantastically. And then of course, mobile too, right? I remember back in the day when I was traveling a lot more than I am now, I would be warming up my car in January and just be updating the CRM on my phone so that I didn't have to come home and update it from a laptop or something like that. But to give the team insight to all the data prior to walking into a meeting is so important. And now with workflow capabilities, again, AI will come up again because it always does, telling the user what they don't know about an account before they walk in the door through their phone is just critical because it exists in the market and we should all be taking advantage of it. So having all my data on the road, being able to communicate back to my office through the CRM all in one place, being notified of things happening back at the office. Think about if that's important to your organization and how the mobile app for the CRM you're looking at really shows and handles those objections, right?
I'll add too that not every organization needs a mobile application, but for those that do, it's because that interaction, that interface between your team, again, whether they're field services or selling or supporting customers, they're an important touch point. And if they show up without that data about that organization, whether it's just sales data, have they paid, have they not paid, what machinery or software or products have they been purchasing from you in the past, that information gives your sellers a differentiator. They come in, they're knowledgeable about the organization, about the account. They're not coming in and have to be reminded by the account, well, no, we stopped buying that product line, now we buy this product line. Why are you talking about that? Because it's all sitting there in front of them. HubSpot does a great job of not only providing the basic information, but I've got field service customers that go out and take pictures of an account, take measurements, enter all that information into the mobile application, whether it's a phone or an iPad or a tablet. And that just allows them to be more efficient. They don't have to go from paper to their laptop to their phone, right? It's all captured in one single place, and a very customizable application from HubSpot's perspective. So robust, yet at the same time, flexible so your team just has the information they need in the field.
One of the newest features too, and Sarah, I don't know if you want to go back just real quick, is with mobile has been just over the last several years, really good mapping integration. And so I'm seeing our customers now, Chris, I don't know about you, but I mean, they're going to meetings. They're getting out of those meetings early. They've got some time. They're looking on their CRM for existing customers in the surrounding area. They're saying, hey, I could hit 3 more customers and stop in today. Again, these are day in the life scenarios. Jot this down. Is this a requirement for our organization? Would it benefit our sales team? Would it benefit user adoption by having robust mapping capabilities within the mobile app, and then go ahead and use those use cases against these 2 tools? I think they both do it. Another kind of wash here, Chris, but they both do it really well. But there's that 10% in design, right, that may lean you towards Salesforce over HubSpot or vice versa.
Good point.
Yeah.
So as a seller myself, I'll just add that I appreciate the guidance that my HubSpot instance gives me. It means I'm spending less time figuring out who to call, what to message them about, what to talk about, what's urgent, what's not urgent. HubSpot has extensive capabilities baked into it that you don't need to add to it that are going to guide your sales or whatever team you have that's using the CRM to their next step. So that, again, they have the information they need to sound like they've been supporting that account for 20 years, whether it's been 2 minutes or 20 years. HubSpot is able to provide them that information around what's important to that account and where should that seller be focusing in their in that direction. And again, those capabilities have increased dramatically over the past 2 years or so with HubSpot, which again typically was a marketing tool, and now is a very serious contender for taking away market share from Salesforce.
I'm gonna have to take Salesforce as the winner on this one, Chris. It is what it is. It's the guided selling part of the platform that really wins the day. So look, I mean, but there has to be a need for it. If you are looking to do in mass strategic account growth, and you want to put together a plan, a series of steps that might change and branch out and lead to other steps, Salesforce is going to handle that really well. As far as automation goes, yeah, they're automation, both of them, and everyone using a CRM should be using some sort of automation, either built into their CRM using BPMN technology or outsourced, like an outside business processing tool. But again, automation leads to quickness, faster getting quotes out the door. Right now, I think one of the hottest topics has been for the last couple of years for me is, tell me about a potential customer coming to my website and engaging in the website, and how fast are we getting that contact over to the sales rep so that he reaches out. Because if people are shopping, that's why they're looking at your website, and we want to call them before our competitor does. That's an automation, right? And that's one of many automations you should be using in your business to ensure that you're responding at an appropriate time. But again, guided selling, and you can see it on the Salesforce side here, that tree there. If you've got high turnover of employees, that's another argument for guided selling to get them up to speed, to make them successful as new employees. And I think there's a good use case for that. So that's my, yeah. Of course, analytics, right? So HubSpot, and I think HubSpot comes with, what is it? It comes with over 300 reports out of the box at this point, Chris?
500.
500 reports out of the box. I do have to check. I'm not ill prepared to talk about how many reports Salesforce starts with. But we do know from a Salesforce perspective, look, it's an open architecture system. And as far as robust reporting and analytics out of the box, it's going to have it. As far as trending is concerned, mashing data up with other systems, it's going to have it. It's going to have it with whether it's out of the box reporting and analytics, or even incorporating Tableau if you need to add that to your subscription. So reporting and analytics is one of my favorite conversations, and I'm always fairly confident that Salesforce is going to meet that need based on its open architecture of the CRM data you're connecting, the connections it can make to other systems, its business intelligence capabilities on top if you need to go that far. But what I'm finding is most of the time it's just the standalone reporting in Salesforce that is going to get you the information that you need in real time.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I would be silly to try and pick a fight and say that HubSpot is a more robust reporting tool than Salesforce.
If you
However,
include Tableau into the conversation, though, and remember, this is going to cost
yeah,
money. It's
sure.
just a subscription, but it's there.
That being said, I've got, again, organizations that are billion-dollar organizations that run reporting out of HubSpot. And if their business isn't doing well, it's not because the reporting in HubSpot wasn't robust enough. So there were other aspects about their business that maybe they didn't have quite a good handle on. And it wasn't the reporting that was holding them back.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Call it what it is. AI capabilities, tons of information out there on artificial intelligence, updates almost daily at this point. A lot of businesses are still wrapping their head around, how am I going to apply AI technology to my business to make my business successful? If you're not thinking about that, candidly, you should. Salesforce is going to be first to market with a lot of AI capabilities in place, right? It's got predictive analytics, it's got generative analytics. Salesforce has introduced their Einstein 1 platform to make these artificial intelligence conversations we're having very customizable. And again, it's only going to get better right now. We're just at the tipping point of this technology. Watch it accelerate. So you want to prepare and make sure whatever CRM solution that you decide to choose, that it's forward thinking and it has a roadmap, whether that be with integrations to ChatGPT or other tools that are going to be introduced to the marketplace. Though I'd say let's have a conversation about some of the newer technologies coming out on the marketplace because they're startups. But this is a very big conversation. Chris, yes, HubSpot, definitely great generative and predictive AI capabilities out of the gate as well. But from a Salesforce perspective, they've got the trusted data layer, so your data's protected and you're not releasing your data out for anybody to get inside business information. All those types of things are already in place. Salesforce's AI approach is very conversational. I'm very impressed with what they've been able to do so far. Telling the system something as simple as updating an opportunity is there already, but really, giving some more predictive behavior is going to be what really is important to me as I look at AI technology and how it relates to CRM data down the road.
Yeah, I would agree with most of what you said, Garrett. Salesforce, hands down, has been delivering AI in its CRM functionality for longer than any of the other major CRMs, no question. But as everyone on the call today has seen, things like ChatGPT or its equivalents, they're new and they're evolving every single day. So that maturity that Salesforce has shouldn't necessarily be a deciding factor. HubSpot has AI built into its CRM. 3 specific ways that my customers are leveraging it are probably most commonly is the content assistance that it provides in either Gmail or mobile or in Outlook. Yep. So you're typing an email, no one's brain has the capability to constantly just create great content or messages or engaging material. And so that AI just gives a little prompt there, right? As much or as little insight or guidance as you want. And so my users love the AI capabilities within both the email and the mobile functionality. Additionally, executives or sales managers like the fact that HubSpot can help predict the health of a deal. And you guys have probably seen this, red, yellow, green for a deal, right? But HubSpot does have that capability baked into it, which is fantastic. And it uses AI to identify what deals are in, what status. And then finally, sales forecasting, kind of tied to that last piece there, but HubSpot will provide AI-powered sales forecasting so that you don't have to crunch as many numbers. AI is crunching them for you, and you just have the actionable information that allows you to make a quick decision and then move on to the next one, because we know your calendars are full. So let's take some of that work off your plate, and HubSpot does a great job of that.
I love the sentiment capabilities in generative AI. I love the ability for the system to craft an email when you're completely blank and you're figuring out, how am I going to send an email about this topic? And the system's telling the user, send them this, and you look at it and you go, can you make it a little happier? Can you make it a little stronger worded? And it adjusts based on the sentiment that you're requesting. Just really cool things, and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better.
So if you take a look at the costs of the two CRMs that we've spoken about today, I mean, there's some small differences in price, but really not that big a difference. Would you agree, Gary?
I mean, I think the big point with both of these vendors is that they're positioning their products to scale. So, excuse me, if you're coming in as a company who's just about to adapt CRM for the first time, and you've got 5 to 10 seats, right? And your use case is, hey, we just want to get them to do X, Y, and Z. You may find Sales Hub Starter Edition to be a perfect fit, or Sales Cloud Starter Edition to be a perfect fit. I think the key takeaway here is, and yes, there's budget concerns, you got to pay for it, but as you continue to grow, you can then choose different subscriptions that fit those needs. So you can grow into eventually getting to Sales Cloud Unlimited, but maybe you don't need that out of the gate. So it's forward thinking, it's 3-5 years out, which you should always be thinking about, hey, down the road, as I start organizing the phases and sprints of rolling out CRM to get more return on it, where are we going to be in 3 to 5 years? Then look at the pricing and make sure it fits against the ROI that you're expecting. This is the breakdown that every customer should have. Feel free to take a screenshot of it from the webinar today, though, Sarah, you'll send out the recording here at the end. Criteria against the ROI. So TCO versus ROI, right, Chris? You look at the number of seats, the subscription you're looking to purchase, what are the onboarding costs? I really recommend you think about your CRM rollout in more of an agile methodology. When you talk about onboarding, what are the sprints that we're going to take, and what's the effort that's involved per sprint? Of course, if you do that, then you can look at the ROI per sprint too, and you can start to justify the costs for the entire project. And how are you going to be supported to make sure that the CRM doesn't fall over? Very important to understand that. Migration costs, customization costs, I mean, all those things that are considered first year costs. Look at your ROI over a series of years, because you're going to have to do that to probably justify the cost, unless there's something completely askew within the business that CRM can handle right away. But take a screenshot of this. The time to value on this screenshot of HubSpot to Salesforce, I would agree with. I think Salesforce, because of the back-end UI and the admin capabilities of what it does, takes a little bit longer to get onboarded than HubSpot. I think HubSpot's faster to value.
Yeah, and I mean, down the road, I think most Salesforce customers, forgot how long it took them to get up and running, right? But I'm going to call out two things here. I'm not going to read down line by line, but from a HubSpot perspective, there's two things that set it apart that aren't represented in what we've spoken about to date, at least in great detail. The first one is the support, right? So everyone expects, if they're buying a service, they should be able to get break-fix support, right, within a normal amount of response time.
Yes.
If you sign up for a service and it takes them a week to get back to you, it's a terrible service, right? And so people expect that normal standard response time. HubSpot has included break-fix support within the subscription cost. So you sign up for the subscription, something breaks, something happens, and they're going to reply to you in acceptable standard amount of time. With Salesforce, they're going to charge you extra in order to get a quick response via a live human. So big delta there is additional cost with Salesforce for support. HubSpot has that support baked into the cost. Additionally, I mentioned the expensive, nice automobile analogy earlier, right? That Salesforce driver, that semi-professional or professional driver that you have, they're expensive. And again, HubSpot, I like to say, is easy enough for a sales guy or girl to use. And it's because it's designed to be used by a generalist. So you don't have to hire a specialist, which are extremely in demand on Salesforce's side. Upside there is, Salesforce is a product that's in demand, but their support services, the people who understand it and who are good at it, right? They're expensive, and they're a little bit harder to find than the generalists that would own and operate the HubSpot instance. I'll leave it right there. Just 2 points that I think are something to consider before you guys commit to or move off of or look to talk to another vendor about your CRM.
Yeah, makes those contract negotiations even more important on the Salesforce side. And we don't see a lot of people using full sandboxes on Salesforce, but if you're negotiating a deal with Salesforce, negotiate that partial sandbox in there so you keep away from those extra costs. So
go ahead, Garrett.
No, by all means. I was just about to ask you, right fit, wrong fit. Tell us about HubSpot.
Sure. Again, I won't read through all of these pieces here. Everyone's able to read, but I'll call out, I think, the important pieces. HubSpot generally is a great fit for organizations under roughly 2,000 employees. That could be 100 employees. It could be 2,000 employees, right? Good fit, typically. Any organization that needs HIPAA compliance probably isn't a good fit for HubSpot. However, I will add, right there it says other types of regulated data. Just today, HubSpot announced that it can handle sensitive data via a beta solution, which will come to fruition down the road. Now, what that means is data, not exactly PII, but more data around race, ethnicity, age, those types of things, which technically, right, do have to be regulated. So HubSpot is making progress towards being able to support more sensitive data. But again, HIPAA is a no-go right off the bat. Complexity, right? You could be an ultra complex environment. Chances are good if you're on this webinar, you're moderately complex to not complex at all. So HubSpot could very well be a great fit for you. And if you need an on-premise solution, right, HubSpot probably isn't the right choice for you.
Yeah, that's where Salesforce is going to win with the private hosting option. But again, Salesforce does not have the on-premise. So it's about 5% of the marketplace. So think about, whether cloud is just a good fit, and then this conversation becomes a wash in that regard. I think, and Chris, I think you would agree with me, in a complex, multi-relationship type behaviors, environment, you're going to want to look at Salesforce. It's going to be able to handle those multiple relationships, those multiple many-to-many and many-to-one relationships that you come across as you're trying to, really craft what your CRM is going to look like and how it's going to behave. If you need HIPAA compliance, yes, it's absolutely a Salesforce over HubSpot. They just don't have that requirement. If you're looking for something more of a multiple database silos connected together in what we call a dataverse, you might actually not want to look at either of these tools. You might want to look towards like Microsoft Dynamics as an alternative to something like that. They're going to handle it a little bit better. And if you're looking for a small team of 5 to 10 users, I think what happens in this conversation as you dig into your requirements is you find that they both really fit your needs. It comes almost down to a budget discussion, and have those conversations with the vendors, but just know going into it that traditionally we find HubSpot to be a little bit more affordable than Salesforce in the long run.
Great. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen, for those insights on both of those tools. We'll move into our audience Q&A. We have about 5 minutes left. So For those of you who have questions and have not yet submitted them in the question box, go ahead and do so now, and I will just start throwing them out at both of you. So first question, not to put you on the spot, but where would you rank, you just actually mentioned Microsoft Dynamics, where would you rank Microsoft Dynamics in relation to Salesforce and HubSpot?
Happy to take this one, Chris. They're both enterprise class CRMs, so they're both in that highly customizable market. It can kind of do anything market, which is the good news, right? They're constantly part of the conversation for me over here at BrainSell. As far as the UX, comes down to preference. Some people don't like the interface of Dynamics, which leads to adoption issues. Some people absolutely hate the Salesforce user interface, and that leads to user adoption issues. So I would answer the question by saying, let's get back to your people, processes, and what you're trying to achieve with the CRM, because I think both of them are going to solve 90% of your problems, and that 10% is going to bite you. So we have to hone in on that 10% of how they handle things differently. And then what you're going to see is organically, this one's a better fit for us than this one. But it's tough to say at a high level. Both very, very powerful tools.
Great, thank you. Next question we received, do you ever see customers mix and match platforms? For example, we're using HubSpot for marketing automation. Should we use CRM or can we consider Salesforce?
All the time.
All the time. Again, when I started 24 years ago, connecting HubSpot Market Hub with Salesforce, sometimes you'd have to beat it with a hammer. But we're now at that age where pick the right marketing automation platform for your business. Pick the right CRM for your business because the tools exist to integrate them. Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll add that if you've got Salesforce and HubSpot in your environment, whether, whichever vendor is playing whatever role, the connector between those two today is completely rock solid. Whether you're using HubSpot's connector for Salesforce or Salesforce's connector for HubSpot, they worked out the kinks. So that shouldn't be something that holds you back from making a decision one way or the other. To Garrett's point, I think the important piece is, what are you trying to accomplish? And then identify the right solution or technology that helps you fit the accomplish those goals for the least amount of money on your side.
Great. This is an interesting question. How much should we factor for implementation costs?
God, it can range. It can range so much. I've said, and I think I'm right on this, Chris, but 3 times the spend on average, but every use case is so different. I mean, we'll get off this webinar and I'll talk to a customer who's got a $16,000 project, get off the phone with them and talk to somebody who's got a $216,000 project. It ranges. Take your time with mapping out what you're trying to achieve. Work with a company like BrainSell, candidly, will get you through it so you can get honest targets on that answer. But for a lot of the blueprinting that we've done in the past, business process consulting, I think on average, the data showed about 3 times the spend based on licenses.
Okay, thank you. Another question just came in from Sam. Which one do you think is not complicated or easy to learn and understand the usability, especially for the beginners?
HubSpot.
HubSpot.
Simple as that. They agree. Even the Salesforce guy agrees. Okay, one last question. I have a CRM. How do I know if it's time to move to a new solution?
Yeah, well, I think taking a deeper dive into what are you trying to accomplish in your business, right? Are there certain aspects of your goals or your processes that just are not either being met or achieved, or they're creating issues? You've got people leaving, you've got customers leaving, right? We're happy to provide guidance on that. We can provide free assessments. We can provide deep inspections. Garrett mentioned a blueprint a moment ago. That's where we come in and basically document. We talk to your sales team. We talk to your marketing team. We talk to your support team. We understand what they do. And then we talk to your executive team to understand what it is they're trying to accomplish and provide recommendations. Are you good to stay where you're at? Should you consider options? If so, here's a couple options that we think are a good fit. And here are the aspects of your business that you should make sure you tackle first when you're deploying that technology.
Yeah, and call it a blueprint, call it a gap assessment. Look at the functional areas, as Chris mentioned, who's using the system. Talk to those subject matter experts in those functional areas and understand what's working for them and what doesn't. Include your executive team. Are they getting the reports they need? Break all that down. How is the current CRM in your stack, fitting in your architectural stack? Break all that down. And then you truly understand, yes, we need to move from this CRM to the next. We've outgrown it. And then also, again, I have to say it again for probably the 10th time, that user adoption. If you have a CRM in place and you have 0 user adoption or light user adoption, you got to understand, is the bridge burned? Because even if I fix it, are they going to use it, or do they just hate it? If they hate it, it's time to cut and run.
Right. Thank you, Garrett and Chris. So for all of you that attended today, we are offering a CRM optimization audit. It's a 45-minute conversation with one of our CRM experts where we'll review your current tech stack and processes, identify opportunities where you can leverage automation and data, some of the things that we talked about today, and then document actionable next steps. So you can either scan this QSR code to schedule your audit or email us at marketing@brainsell.com, and then my colleague Zach will also be following up with you to answer any questions you may not have had a chance to ask.
Last question was a perfect question for the optimization audit. Just give us a call. We'll talk you through it.
Great. All right. Thank you both. Thank you all for attending today. And again, we will send the recording and the slides to you. You'll see it in your inbox tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of the week.
Have a great day. Thanks
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Garrett. Thanks, Sarah.